Discover 10 incredible foods that transform seniors' nights by banishing leg cramps forever. Betty Thompson had always been the heart of Maplewood. At 75, she possessed a spirit that rivaled those half her age. Her home filled with the aromas of her famous roast, made every week for her gathered family. But recently, those Sunday nights were different. Each time she stepped into her kitchen, she'd wince at the sudden leg cramps that shot through her, casting shadows on her joyful gatherings. The laughter that echoed around the table was now punctuated by her painful gasps. As she steadied herself to chop herbs, her neighbor Tom, the retired veteran, noticed. He strolled over, a gentle wisdom in his eyes. "Betty, what is going on, neighbor? You look like you've wrestled a bear," he chuckled softly, concern lacing his voice. Betty sighed, her heart aching not just from the cramps, but from the thought of her family dinner being less than perfect. Tom pulled her aside, sharing his own battle with pain. "You know, it's all about nutrition. A while back, I started eating differently. I found it changed everything. Why not give it a shot?" For the first time in weeks, Betty felt a flicker of hope ignite. "What do you suggest?" she asked. Over the following days, Betty dove headfirst into this new world. She studied, experimented, and found 10 remarkable foods that promised to chase away her leg cramps. Kale, bananas, sweet potatoes, walnuts, and others danced on her kitchen counter. With every vibrant dish, her confidence grew. The logical Betty, who planned every family dinner with precision, now turned whimsical. Before she knew it, Betty's kitchen was filled with bold flavors and colors, the essence of her new mission to heal herself and, by extension, her family. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But her newfound passion was tea just for herself. She felt it bubbling over into the community. Betty launched a healthy cooking initiative, inviting her neighbors for weekly classes. Sizzling pans and shared laughs ignited the kind of atmosphere that felt revolutionary in their quiet suburb. Maplewood thrived in this ripple of vibrancy. However, when her children returned home for dinner, they met her with tepid smiles and doubts. "Mom, kale? Sweet potatoes? Where is the roast?" one of them questioned, confusion knitting her family's brows. The nostalgic warmth of her cherished recipes collided with her new health-focused choices. Tensions flared, old wounds surfacing. The children feared their mother would fade from the family dinners they adored, bringing secrets of their own underlining every conversation. As Betty sensed the hearts around her hardening, she realized it was more than food that was being discussed. She was asking them to reconsider their understanding of nourishment itself. They were not just recipes. They were love, tradition, and memory, all wrapped in each bite. Just when Betty felt foundations crumbling, a shocking revelation unfolded, one that tied back to their cherished family meals. Would they stand together amidst these discoveries, or would this be the moment that drove them apart? The future of family dinner loomed uncertainly, holding the promise of hope and nostalgia, tangled in revelations that threatened to upend everything they believed about each other. Would Betty's journey of healing and transformation bring them closer, or would it push them further apart? The answers awaited them, veiled in the aromas of Betty's kitchen. The air in Betty's kitchen carried a mix of excitement and anxiety. The bright colors of her healthy dishes stood in stark contrast to the expressions on her children's faces. They gathered around the dining table, forks poised but not moving, as though the vibrant vegetables were foreign invaders rather than comforting fare crafted from their mother's hands. "Mom, I know you're trying to help," her daughter Sarah said, her voice small and uncertain. "But this isn't what we've always had. The roast, it's what makes Sundays special." Betty's heart sank. She didn't want to lose those cherished moments, the laughter and stories shared over steaming platters of her roast. But she couldn't ignore the Cramps anymore. She could feel the tension building, an invisible wall rising between her and her children. "Sarah, I want to make this work for all of us," Betty replied gently, trying to reach through the fog of disappointment. I want to be here, to keep making memories without the pain. Can't we try to make new memories, perhaps with some new flavors?" The room held its breath, each of them caught in a moment of reflection. Still, her son, Jake, remained skeptical, his fork piercing a piece of kale like it had personally offended him. "It's not about that, Mom. It's about the tradition, the comfort food, the family." Betty swallowed hard. "I understand, Jake. But all I can think about is how much I want to keep cooking for you, to keep this family together, or even just to be able to stand while doing it." Her voice shook with uncharacteristic vulnerability, the kind that made her children lean in, if only slightly. Suddenly, a sound broke through the tension. Tom poked his head through the door. His gray hair glistened in the light, and he wore a grin that could brighten any day. "I brought dessert," he announced, holding up a bowl of fresh berries, their colors vibrant and enticing. Everyone's head turned, and the curious spark grew in the air. "Tom, you're a lifesaver," Betty exclaimed, her face brightening momentarily. It was the exact shift she needed to draw the attention away from the tension at the table. Maybe dessert could bridge the gap. Tom strolled in, with an easy confidence that made the atmosphere feel lighter. "I believe these little guys are the perfect complement to your incredible dishes, Betty. Besides, who doesn't love a good berry?" With that, the somber mood eased as he started passing around the fresh fruit. As laughter began to bubble back to the surface, a realization struck Betty. The barrier between her and her children didn't just hinge on the food. It was about connection, sharing the experience, making it a family affair. She cleared her throat, straightening her back as the idea solidified. "What if we all worked together?" she suggested, her eyes sparkling with possibility. "Creating new dishes, combining the healthy with our favorites? We can discuss what you love, and can still experiment with flavors that heal." Her children's expressions softened. "You mean, we can have both?" Sarah asked, intrigued, a hint of excitement creeping into her voice. "Yes, exactly," Betty said, her smile widening. "Let us continue the legacy of our family dinners, while also embracing what I've learned." The room buzzed with hope, a new form of tradition building within the aromas wafting around them. Could they craft a new narrative together? As Betty looked around the table, the familiar warmth of love began to intertwine with her newfound passion. But just as moments of clarity often do, a knock echoed from the front door, slicing through the moment. Who could it be? Would this new arrival bolster their efforts, or further complicate the budding reconciliations taking place? The only sound was the rustle of the berry bowl, and the distant echo of front door opening, a cliffhanger intertwined with promise waiting on the other side. Betty glanced nervously at her children as she stood rooted in place, the sound of the door creaking open echoing like a heartbeat in the room. She shared a quick look with Tom, who had paused mid-motion, a berry still in hand, his expression filled with curiosity and concern. "Who is it?" Jake asked, his fork hovering above the kale again, irritation surfacing as each knock felt like an invasion of their moment. "Let us see," Betty replied, forcing herself to take a soothing breath. She walked over to the door, her heart racing. As the door swung wide, a familiar face appeared. Mrs. Henderson, the neighbor from across the street, wearing her ever-present sun hat and an apron that might have been splattered with paint, or was it flour? "I hope I'm not interrupting. I just baked a batch of brownies, and I thought you all might like to share." Her eyes twinkled as she produced a glass dish of warm, gooey treats, the scent wafting in and wrapping around them like a cozy blanket. "Mrs. Henderson," Betty exclaimed, her surprise matched by a rush of warmth. "You always know when to show up." The children peered over her shoulder, and the brownies, with their glossy top and melted chocolate chips, sparked a wave of grins and whispers. "Dinner is about to get a whole lot sweeter," Sarah noted, laughing as she moved closer, the kale momentarily forgotten. Betty felt a swell in her chest. Connection she realized was happening right before her eyes. They could build new traditions, forged by new faces and flavors, instead of discarding everything that had come before. She motioned for Mrs. Henderson to step inside. "Come join us, please. We'd love to have you share our meal." "Oh, I wouldn't want to intrude," Mrs. Henderson said, but the way she shifted her weight told Betty that she wanted to be invited. "Nonsense. We can use all the help," Betty began, but Jake cut in before she could finish. "Yeah, you can help us make a new dessert out of those brownies." The atmosphere shifted again, igniting new life in their kitchen. "Sounds like a plan to me." Mrs. Henderson beamed, her shoulders relaxing as she stepped in fully. As they all gathered, Betty felt the weight lift. Voices began to fill the kitchen, everyone chattering about the dish they would create: brownies, berries, and perhaps a splash of vanilla. This wasn't just about making a meal anymore. It was a gathering of hearts. "Let us make it a family affair, then. Everyone, grab an ingredient." Betty guided them, her spirits lifting higher with each laugh that escaped her children's lips. They all began gathering items. Sarah grabbed whipped cream, and Jake scoured the fridge for nuts, while Tom put the berries at the center of the chaos, and Mrs. Henderson handed over her secret ingredient, a sprinkle of sea salt that brought out the flavors. "Mom, this is fun," Jake called out, a genuine smile painting his face as they started mixing everything together. Betty couldn't remember the last time she'd seen that expression so clearly. But beneath the laughter, there was a knowing that emerged. The old ways felt different now, interwoven with something new. Betty gazed at her children, feeling love mingling with relief. Yet, a question flickered in her mind. What if embracing change meant confronting deeper issues still unresolved within their family? Before she could ponder any longer, the door opened again, this time wider, and it revealed another figure shuffling in. "Betty? Did I hear something about dessert?" It was her sister, Clara, stepping inside the kitchen like the punchline to the best joke. Betty felt a rush of mixed emotions: excitement, trepidation, uncertainty filling the air once more. What was the impact of this unexpected visit going to be? Would it bring them closer or stir up old tensions ready to be unveiled? Amidst the bustling kitchen filled with laughter and chaos, Betty braced herself for what awaited. Clara's entrance shifted the atmosphere in the kitchen. Laughter momentarily faded as her presence stirred up whispers of what had been left unsaid. The buzz of excitement blended with a familiar tension, and Betty felt her heart rate quicken. "Clara! What a surprise!" she explained, forcing enthusiasm into her voice. She stepped forward, but the two sisters exchanged a glance heavy with unspoken history. Clara's smile was warm yet cautious, and Betty could almost hear the years of silence stretch between them, like a thread dangling in midair, waiting to be grasped. "Thanks for the warm welcome," Clara replied, adjusting her scarf as if it could shield her from judgment. "I smelled brownies and thought I'd check in." The tension rippled through the room, as if the kids sensed the shift in energy. "Oh, these are for our new dessert," Jake said, stirring the bowl and offering Clara a grin. For a moment, they focused on him, and the likeness returned, at least for the children. "We're making brownie berry parfaits." "Sounds delicious." Clara's eyes softened as she leaned closer to the bowl, but the brief moment of joy quickly faded as she turned her attention to Betty. "I hope I'm not interrupting family time." "No, not at all," Betty replied, the pressure building. "We can always use an extra pair of hands." She meant it, yet a part of her recoiled. Family had been a mixed blessing since their father's passing. There were stories buried deep, too many to explore right now. "Here, this could use some more whipped cream," Sarah called, breaking the tension. The children sparked into action again, scrambling for their ingredients, laughter bubbling as all focus shifted back to the process. Clara took a step back, observing the scene. The sight of her niece and nephews rallying together, hands dancing among bowls and spoons, tugged at her heart. Memories of her own childhood floated in, of family meals clouded with the weight of expectation and the pressure always to perform. "Betty," Clara finally said, lowering her voice to escape the excitement in the kitchen, "I hope you're okay." "I know things have changed. I'm fine," Betty replied too quickly, a trace of defensiveness creeping in. She could feel the shadows of the past creeping up again, threatening to engulf the brightness that had just begun to emerge. "Are you?" Clara whispered, her brow furrowing in concern. "You don't have to pretend with me." Betty sighed, her emotions dangling by a thread. She glanced around at her children, full of life and spirit, then back at her sister. Could she really open up now? There was hardly a time for deep conversations when sweetness filled the air. Suddenly Tom piped up, "Hey, can we add some of the nuts now?" The kids crowded over him, eyes sparkling with mischief and eagerness. In that moment of chaos, a thought struck Betty. She remembered how their father had always emphasized family and connection, along with the importance of sharing. But she had been holding on to the past tightly, afraid to let it shape her present. "Wait," she said, raising her hands. The kitchen went momentarily silent, all eyes on her. "Let us do something different. Let us share memories while we cook. Which one of you can remember our favorite family recipe?" "Mom." Jake laughed, uncurling the fun from his frustration. "You always burnt the toast." "Exactly." Betty chuckled, feeling lighter. "And what about the Thanksgiving disaster?" Laughter erupted, filling the kitchen as shared moments wove a new connection, something special against the backdrop of uncertainty. But Clara's gaze caught something deeper. "You know, Betty, all those memories," she started softly, her voice fragile against the chaos surrounding them. "What if they hurt?" Betty interrupted, her heart quickening. Clara stepped closer, her eyes shimmering. "What if they're just waiting to be embraced?" The words hung thick and heavy. Betty felt her breath catch. The children's laughter faded into the background as she faced her sister, the warmth of the kitchen feeling almost too hot. Could they really confront their past and find healing amidst the sweet scent of brownies and berries? Would those old hurts surface, or could they forge a new path together? As the tension swirled, Betty couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was the beginning of something monumental. Would she seize this chance to reopen those old dialogues, or let fear pull her back into silence? Before she could decide, the door swung open once more. This time it was their mother, eyes wide and curious. "Did I hear my daughters talking about cooking together?" An entirely new wave of emotions erupted, leaving Betty wondering if they were really ready for the family reunion that was about to unfold. What revelations awaited them? Would they embrace the past or break free from it? The door swung shut behind their mother, the sound echoing in the suddenly charged silence that enveloped the kitchen. Betty felt the familiar rush of old memories, and the simultaneous pressing need to forge ahead. Her mother eyed them both, a knowing look warming her features. "Ah, delicious scents and so much laughter. This is what home feels like." She smiled, her voice brimming with nostalgia and underlying tension. Clara shifted, visibly torn. The warmth of the kitchen seemed to contrast with the churning emotions hidden beneath the surface of her calm exterior. "Just making a little treat," Betty said, as she motioned to the bowls filled with swirling brownie batter and vibrant berries. She tried to sound casual, but her throat felt tight. "Oh, I remember when your father attempted to bake something special for my birthday," their mother chuckled, the story spilling out unbidden. "He nearly blew up the kitchen, but we laughed so hard, didn't we? You two were so little." Laughter bubbled up, pulsing through the air, but Betty felt Clara flinch slightly at the memory, a hint of vulnerability flickering in her eyes. The way their mother brought up their father without hesitation stung. For her, it was a painful reminder of the love lost amidst the chaos of grief. "Which birthday was that?" Jake chimed in, eyes wide with intrigue, seemingly oblivious to the weight of the moment. His innocent enthusiasm etched a smile on Betty's face, but she could see Clara's gaze slip away, caught in her own thoughts. "Oh, sweetie, it was when you were 4. I think we all wore flour on our faces," their mother continued, echoing each memory like an old song. "We barely made it through dinner with all the smoke. Mom, you've told us that story a million times." Sarah giggled, but Clara remained still. "Some moments are worth revisiting," Clara spoke softly, almost to herself. Betty caught her sister's glance and felt her heart falter, as if Clara's voice was a bridge back to the buried history they had both skirted around for too long. "Maybe we should create some new stories today," Betty suggested, a flicker of hope igniting within her. "How about we start a new family tradition with these parfaits? A recipe just for us." Clara's expression shifted, the weight of the past momentarily lifting. "A family tradition," she mused. "I like that idea. It feels hopeful." The kids jumped at the suggestion, racing to grab bowls and spoons. Together, they started layering the brownies, berries, and whipped cream, the kitchen erupting once more in laughter and spirited discussion. "More cream here, less brownie there," Tom challenged, his competitive edge coming alive. As they created the dessert, Betty found herself alongside Clara, handing ingredients back and forth. The gentle clattering of spoons echoed like a heartbeat, threading familiarity into the air, but amid the bustling excitement, Clara's voice slipped through, low and hesitant. "Betty, what if we actually talked about those memories that hurt? Just to see if any of them could come with us instead of staying behind?" The world seemed to pause, the buzzing of their children falling away. Betty felt her pulse race. The idea terrified her. "Do you think it's time to face them?" Betty whispered, though her voice was stronger than she felt. The warmth that had filled the kitchen moments before grew heavy and solemn. Clara met her eyes, searching for answers in the depths of their shared history. "I think it might be the only way we can move forward together." A tight knot formed in Betty's stomach. Could they really unearth what had been buried? Would they emerge stronger, or would it expose the cracks that had long drawn shrouds over their relationship? Just then, a loud crash sliced through the quiet. Sarah had knocked over a bowl, its contents cascading onto the floor. Laughter erupted once more, and for a moment, the seriousness dissipated like sugar in warm water. But as Betty cleaned the mess, a sense of resolve solidified in her heart. Perhaps they could tackle those wounds, a little at a time, as they baked and shared. And perhaps, just perhaps, their mother's probing presence was exactly what they needed to stir up the silence that had taken root for too long. Would Clara and Betty find a way to untangle the threads of their memories, or would the past prove to be an insurmountable barrier? What other surprises awaited them in the warmth of shared laughter and unspoken truths? Betty took a deep breath, glancing at Clara, whose gaze had drifted to the kitchen window, staring out into the sunny backyard, a world that felt distant and unreachable. The laughter of their children, momentarily muffled by the weight of unspoken fears, began to fill the room again, but it felt different now, charged with the potential for something deeper. "Hey, everyone, how about we make this even more fun?" Betty called out, trying to infuse some lightheartedness back into the mix. "Let us not just layer these parfaits, let us create something wild, like a berry mountain." the highest tower of desserts wins. Tom and Sarah cheered, their eyes brightening at the idea. Clara's lips turned up slightly, but didn't full blossom into her usual, confident smile. Betty caught the fleeting hint of concern in her sister's eyes, the same concern that had been a constant shadow since their father passed. As they piled the brownies and berries higher, something shifted in the air. It was as if the laughter stitched together a fragile bond, a line connecting the past to an uncertain future. Yet, the unguarded moments where laughter danced close to tears seemed to thicken the air with possibilities. "What do you think Dad would think of Berry Mountain?" Jake asked, his curious voice ringing through, breaking the heavy silence that threatened to creep back in. Betty felt a swell of emotion. He would probably be here, trying to build it taller than all of us combined. Her smile lingered, but she noticed Clara's eyes glisten as she fought back tears. An uncomfortable beat followed, each one asking the question that loomed in the corners. They all felt it. Would talking about him bring them closer, or just magnify the pain? "I wish he could see us now," Clara whispered, her voice fragile but steady. Betty's heart sank a little, feeling the weight of her sister's longing. But what if that weight was something they could transform together? "He is here in spirit, Clara," she said gently. "He would have loved how chaotic this kitchen is right now." "A chaotic mess," Clara echoed slowly, lost in thought. "Maybe that's what we need. A bit of chaos." Just then Sarah, in a burst of excitement, reached for an overflowing pile of berries and accidentally knocked the entire tray off the counter. It tumbled to the floor with a splatter of color, completely soaking the tiles beneath them. "Oh no!" Sarah gasped, eyes wide, but laughter erupted among them again, echoing through the kitchen. Clara's laughter rang out clearer than before, the tension between them beginning to crack. As they cleaned up the mess, the children giggled, and Clara helped hold the mop, finally relinquishing some of her weariness. Betty caught her eye, and for the first time that day, they shared a small, conspiratorial smile, the kind that spoke of understanding, maybe even forgiveness. "Okay, I think I know a way to make this chaotic cooking experience more meaningful too. How about we create a family recipe book? One that tells stories of our favorite moments with Dad? We could include this one," Betty suggested, her heart racing. Clara nodded slowly, her expression shifting into one of determination. "Yes. A memorial, a celebration," she said, her voice stronger now. They looked at each other, a fragile space between them teetering toward hope. What if they were really close to finding the balance? What if this new tradition could lift the weight of loss just a little? Amid the laughter and sounds of spilled batter, a thought sparked in Betty's mind. Would bringing their memories to the surface ignite a flame of healing instead of the fear she had clung to? Was it time, finally, to embrace the chaotic blend of joy and sorrow? As the children bounced around them, the air now thick with warmth and the promise of something new, Betty felt the stirrings of courage deep within. "Let us do it," she said finally, gazing at Clara, her own resolve fortified. "Let us make the past part of our future." But there, in the back of her mind, a question lingered like the aroma of the baking brownies. What memories would they unearth, and would they be ready for the truths that might emerge? And as the laughter rang out sweetly in the air, the fragile threads of their past beckoned to be revisited, like a recipe waiting to be shared. How deep would they go, and what secrets still lay hidden, ready to be uncovered as they embarked on this new journey? As the berry mountain teetered in front of them, the children squealed with delight, their tiny hands eagerly piling berries high. The kitchen, once heavy with sorrow, now buzzed with jubilant chaos. Betty caught Clara's eye again, and this time there was a shared understanding, a flicker of something that was stirring between them, just waiting to be built upon. "All right. Who has got the tallest tower?" Betty called out, trying to keep the momentum going. The laughter wrapped around them like a warm blanket, and it felt good, like a breath of fresh air cutting through stale sorrow. Tom, ever the competitive one, ballooned with confidence. "Mine will be taller than Dad's old garden shed," he bragged, balancing precariously with another handful of strawberries. Clara chuckled, shaking her head. "You wish. Your tower is going to come crashing down any second." Yet, a lightness filled her tone that hadn't been present before. Betty leaned in, her heart hopeful. "Maybe we can all share stories while we build? Little snapshots of Dad," she suggested, holding her breath as she waited for a response. As the children played, she could feel this was the moment to dive deeper. Clara hesitated for a moment, looking at the chaotic scene. "What kind of stories?" she asked, her voice quiet. "Whatever comes to mind," Betty prompted, tucking a stray hair behind her ear. "Remember the summer he took us camping and forgot the tent poles? Or the time he tried to teach us how to barbecue and almost set the grill on fire?" A chuckle escaped Clara's lips. "He used to always say fire is just a part of cooking." It was a small step, but Betty felt the echo of nostalgia ripple through Clara with new warmth. "What about the burnt cookies he made for our first bake sale?" Jake piped up, his eyes wide and gleaming. "He said they were extra crunchy." "Extra crunchy?" "More like completely inedible," Sarah chimed in, causing another bout of laughter to erupt. As the stories flowed, each memory seemed to peel back layers of sadness like an onion, exposing sweet, cherished moments hidden beneath. Betty felt the air shift. The energy was bright, alive. "What if we used these stories for our recipe book?" she suggested, her excitement bubbling over. "Each recipe could have a memory attached to it, a moment with Dad that makes it special." "That's a great idea," Tom exclaimed, bouncing on his toes. "Like a family cooking history?" "Yes," Clara echoed, now fully engaged. "It would be a way for us to carry that part of him with us. Our family traditions wouldn't just fade away." As the laughter continued, Clara browsed through a box of old photographs, half buried beneath a pile of recipe cards. She pulled a faded picture, flowers blooming in the yard behind their dad, and a younger version of herself, hands covered in flour. "Look," she explained, holding it up for everyone to see. This was his favorite apron. Betty jumped up. "We should have an apron day. Let us all wear silly aprons like his when we make our family recipes." The children squealed in delight at the idea. Yet, beneath the laughter, an undercurrent of vulnerability flowed. Could they really revive these traditions? Would it heal the gaps left by their father's absence? "Can we promise to keep poking around in our memories?" Clara asked, her voice steady but soft. "Even when it gets hard?" "It feels important." "Together, we can," Betty replied, heart swelling. "We'll face whatever comes up." Betty felt as if they were indeed clutching at something risky yet beautiful, as if every moment shared would stitch their family ties tighter. As dessert towers began to sway, and laughter continued to thrum through the air, the promise of the past seemed to beckon brightly. What stories had yet to be revealed? And would those stories bring pain or comfort as they journeyed toward the finish line of their recipe book? The kitchen overflowed with laughter, but the corners held whisperings of profound truths just waiting to be found. And in that moment, Betty knew they weren't just crafting a book, they were rebuilding a legacy. What twists and turns awaited them as they peeled back the layers of grief? Would they discover strength in their shared hearts, or find truths that might threaten to unravel them once again? The afternoon sun streamed through the kitchen window, casting warm golden rays over the laughing children. Their hands were sticky from the juicy berries, and the remnants of frosting dripped from their fingertips. Clara felt a sense of lightness, a missing piece finally sliding into place as she listened to her siblings tease each other. But as the laughter enveloped her, deeper thoughts tugged at the fringes of her mind. "Okay, here's a story," Jake piped up, shoving a handful of berries into his mouth. Remember when Dad tried to bake a pie and left it in the oven too long? It came out as a burnt frisbee. Laughter erupted, and Clara could almost hear their father's booming laughter joining in from a memory long ago. That was the same day he tried to convince us that he meant to make smoky fruit pie, Tom added, eyes sparkling with mischief. Clara felt her heart swell. This was exactly what they needed, a reminder of their father's goofy spirit and unyielding love. How about when he built that treehouse with no instructions? Clara said, feeling the warmth spread. You could barely fit in it. Hey, we still played in it for hours, Sarah defended, waving a berry like a scepter. And it was our secret castle. Secret castle? More like death trap. Clara laughed, but inside she felt something shift. Each story unearthing the laughter scattered around their shared grief was a thread weaving them closer. Amid the clamor of joyful shouts, Betty moved to Clara's side, sensing the emotional shift within her. You okay? She asked quietly. Clara turned, meeting her sister's eyes. Yeah, it feels bittersweet. You know? Clara responded, her smile fading slightly. Like, can we really hold on to these memories? Will they be enough? Betty nodded slowly, understanding the depth of Clara's worry. They'll have to be. But we can turn them into something more, bring him into everything we do. It's our family story he left us. Clara considered the weight of those words. You really think so? I do, Betty smiled softly. If we build this recipe book, share the stories, it'll be like he is always at the table with us. Every meal, every dish, a piece of him. With a sudden burst of inspiration, Clara reached for another photograph in the box. It showed their family gathered around a table, their father animatedly flipping burgers at a backyard barbecue, beaming ear to ear. Look at this. Our last family barbecue, she said, her fingers brushing over the edges. He made the best burgers. What if we all took turns recreating his recipes? Like the cooking challenge? Tom said, eyes wide with excitement. And whoever makes the best dad-style barbecue gets a prize? I love it, Jake shouted, tossing berries in the air. What is the prize? The opportunity to create our very own recipe, Clara suggested, her heart racing. The idea felt electric, like a spark igniting passion. They began to brainstorm, scribbling down Dad's old recipes, mixing ideas, laughter flowing freely again. Yet, a quiet worry crept back into Clara's mind. Could they truly capture his essence through food? What if they couldn't get it right? Caught up in the joyous energy swirling around her, Clara reassured herself. They'd support each other. They would try. After all, every attempt would be a celebration of who their father was, a bridge over the grief. Then, as they were swept up in the fun, Betty paused, casting a glance towards the family calendar hung on the wall. Don't forget, the anniversary of his passing is coming up soon. The room quieted, the laughter subdued. Should we do something special? Clara asked, voice trembling ever so slightly. Definitely. It might be hard, but what if we made one of his favorite recipes to share together? Betty suggested, tentative yet hopeful. Yeah, together, Clara echoed. Let us do it, maybe that will give us the strength we need. As they resumed laughter and creative chaos, it was clear this was only the beginning. They were ready to embrace the memories, but would the shadows of grief hold them back during the bittersweet milestone? Would they find a way to navigate their longing amid the joy? Excitement mingled with apprehension in the air, promising a journey that would test the strength of their bond. And amid the swirling emotions, Clara couldn't shake the feeling that an unexpected revelation was still waiting for them within that family legacy. What memory would rise to the surface next, and would it bring comfort or challenge? The evening air was thick with the smell of berries, sugar, and nostalgia as the kids scattered around the kitchen, tackling the delightful mess left behind. Clara found her heart racing with the renewed energy that came from their plans. She stood at the counter, pulling together the notes they had scrawled, each representing a piece of their father, a slice of his life infused into their future, giving them a palpable sense of purpose. "Listen, let us get each of us to pick a recipe," Betty suggested, her voice cutting through Clara's reverie. "We can start with Dad's burgers this weekend, and then we can go from there." "Great idea," Jake exclaimed as he climbed onto a stool, his eyes lighting up at the thought of grill smoke and summer flavors. "I'll take the burgers. I want to do those chocolate chip cookies he baked. You know, the ones that were so gooey you could barely pick them up?" Tom chimed in, dramatically rubbing his hands together, already envisioning the warm cookies melting in his mouth. "Fine. But only if I can be the one to add nuts," Sarah insisted, puffing out her chest. With the decisions made, Clara felt an encouraging swell deep within her. It was a heartbeat of connection, a little ray of positivity in a storm cloud of grief. Yet, beneath that warmth, another feeling lurked, snaking around her insides like a shadow. What if they were trying to do too much too soon? As good as the laughter felt, Clara couldn't help but wonder if the memories they cherished would ever measure up to the reality of their loss. Days trickled by like honey, each one coloring the siblings' spirits. Yet Clara's heart remained heavy. They soon faced the anniversary, an emotional mountain to climb. The weight of that day loomed over them, a day marked not just by their father's absence, but by the tension that often came with the bittersweet nature of remembrance. What would it feel like to gather around the kitchen table, creating something meaningful yet tinged with sadness? A sense of doubt crept back as Clara withdrew into herself after dinner one evening. She sat at the table, staring at the recipes, feeling detached from the shared laughter echoing around her. Just then, Betty slid into the seat next to her, concern etched across her face. "What's up, Clara? You're quieter than usual," she asked gently, her eyes scrutinizing her sister as though searching for answers. What if we can't do it? What if those memories are just not enough?" Clara finally blurted out, her frustration bubbling. "What if our attempts to recreate his dishes fall flat? What if it just makes everything hurt worse?" Betty reached out, squeezing Clara's hand. "That's normal to feel," she reassured her. "But remember, we're doing this together. It's not about perfection. It's about family. About celebrating him. Every dish will be a piece of him, no matter what." Clara let out a shaky breath. "You're right. I've just been so scared." "Hey," Betty said, her voice firm but warm, "none of us expect perfection. Just being together and remembering him is what matters most. We'll figure it out as we go. Besides, we've got each other, right?" "Right," Clara agreed, feeling the weight ease just a little. As the family bounded back into the kitchen, eager to continue their brainstorming and preparation, Clara caught a fleeting glimpse of a memory. The way their father had laughed while standing in the kitchen, flour dusting his clothes, as he attempted to share a secret ingredient. That was where his spirit thrived amid the chaos and laughter, surrounded by those he loved most. What they hadn't expected, though, was that skimming through those recipes would unearth something deeper than memory. A little folded piece of paper slipped from between the pages. Clara's heart raced as she picked it up, the handwriting unmistakable. "A secret burger recipe?" she murmured, her voice barely carrying over her racing pulse. What did it say? And why would he have written it down and tucked it away? Unsure of what she might discover, her heart beat in rhythm with her anticipation as she unfolded the paper. What new layer of their father's cooking legacy was about to be unveiled, and how would it change everything? Clara's hands trembled as she unfolded the paper, the familiar scrawl of their father's handwriting swirling with nostalgia. It felt like opening a time capsule, and as the words came into focus, she felt an enveloping warmth wash over her. A pinch of love, a dash of laughter, it read, is what makes every dish taste better. Clara looked up, her eyes glistening as she shared a glance with Betty, whose expression mirrored her own profound connection to their father. Can you believe this? He really believed those ingredients were essential. Clara smiled, the heaviness melting away just a bit. It's perfect, it's like he is still teaching us. Exactly. It's his soul in every word, Betty said, excitement brewing within her. Let us make this part of our new family recipe book. It's the embodiment of everything we're trying to honor. In that moment, excited murmurs of agreement filled the room. The children crowded around, eager to see what Clara had found. What does it say? Jake asked, eyes wide. The secret to Dad's burger. Clara responded, invigorated. He said you need love and laughter to make it special. The kids giggled, and Clara could sense the energy shift as each child beamed with pride in their father's teachings. I want to put that on the family recipe page. A pinch of love and a dash of laughter, Tom declared. That'll be our new family motto. Every meal we create together, we add that spirit into it. Betty exclaimed, emotional strength rising within her, as they began to craft their blueprint alive with love and tradition. Amidst a flurry of creativity, they pulled old photos, family stories, and cherished recipes together into a cohesive narrative, one that was brimming with their father's heart and humor. As the days sped toward the anniversary, Clara found herself transformed, buoyed by the excitement of their shared venture. Every night, they came together, cooking, laughing, and reminiscing, as they began to sculpt their family's new story, one of healing and connection. But on the day of the anniversary, Clara felt anxiety pinging her heart. She awoke earlier than usual, the stillness of dawn starkly contrasting the frenetic energy of the past week. Clara found herself wandering into the kitchen, the memories flooding her mind like a warm breeze. Her gaze settled on a bright sticker above the sink, one her father would always joke about. Kiss the cook. It sparked a bittersweet smile, and she recalled that spontaneous kitchen dance they'd shared long ago. They had made pizza, and flour had been flying like confetti as he twirled around with her. She missed him deeply, yet felt compelled to honor that memory today. Mom! Jake! Sarah! Clara called out, voice ringing with determination, summoning her siblings. It's time to cook Dad's burgers and make this one the best celebration ever. As they assembled in the kitchen, Clara opened a cabinet filled with nostalgic remnants of family dinners and lacquer plates, utensils, and recipes scattered throughout. The kids took turns sharing stories, laughter bubbling brighter like a boiling pot, the tension of grief melting into something warm and inviting. They worked side by side, Clara taking the lead with Betty right beside her, guiding each child in the preparation. Okay. The secret ingredient is love. Who wants to add the love? She declared, a twinkle in her eye. Me! Raised three voices in unison. As Clara guided Jake and Sarah in adding in ingredients and seasoning the burgers, she marveled at how the task had transformed into a shared ritual. Laughter filled the air again, mixing with the delicious aroma wafting into every corner of the house, wrapping them in warmth. Clara caught her mother's eye, and they shared a smile, a silent agreement that healing came through each moment they connected, setting the stage to embrace their heartfelt memories. Once the burgers sizzled on the grill, Clara turned to her family, grinning ear to ear. Let us not shy away from the stories. Remember a moment with Dad each time we take a bite. As the burgers were served, each sibling took a moment to share a treasured memory, stories dancing around the table like fireflies, reconnecting them to the essence of who their father had been. The children's delighted giggles echoed in the air as Clara reminded them to add a special touch of love, tipping the container with exaggerated flair. They raised their burgers high for a toast, howling the old phrase, to more love, more laughs, and more memories. As the sun began to set, shimmering rays filtered through the kitchen, illuminating their faces. Clara grinned ear to ear, her heart swelling, knowing they would always carry their memories forward. In that moment, she saw the barriers of grief break apart, replaced with a collective spirit that buoyed them with hope. They were healing, piecing together just how precious their bond was, a delicious mix of laughter and love. With dessert planned for later, a berry mountain-inspired delectable treat, the atmosphere was alive with lightness. And just as Clara took a moment to breathe deep, the doorbell rang, jolting her from her thoughts. "I wonder who it is?" Sarah asked, eyes wide in anticipation. "Let us find out together," Jake chimed, eagerness spilling over. Clara exchanged glances with Betty, the kindling of curiosity ignited as they walked toward the door, hand in hand. The moment felt charged, and as Clara swung open the door, the scene unfolded: a group of neighbors, Tom at the forefront, with fresh ingredients and laughter spilling in. "Thought you might want some help throwing a neighborhood dinner party, because who says we can't bring everyone into this celebration?" Tom flashed a warm smile, embodying the spirit of unity. As Clara looked back at her bustling kitchen, filled with life, laughter, and the aroma of love, a tug on her heart assured her that healing often came from sharing. "Yes, we'd love that," she beamed, welcoming them in. Today wasn't just about remembering, today was a promise of togetherness, and even more memories waiting to be made. With new energy surging through them, Clara realized this journey had only just begun, unraveling secrets that had already sown seeds of love. What started as a gathering of their family was blossoming beyond its walls, creating a profound ripple effect, expanding their understanding of connection and nourishment. As the sounds of joy enveloped the kitchen, her father's spirit echoing in every laugh and every shared look, Clara whispered softly to herself, "Thank you for being here, Dad." Each moment was a testament to generations built through food, laughter, and love, the family legacy taking root once more. And just like that, their story continued, bridging the past, present, and future with the promise of new flavors, memories, and endless possibilities. Now more than ever, it was clear they were not alone, and together they would carry the taste of connection forward, a feast that would never end. Before the next chapter could unfold, Clara turned back to her family, a smile playing on her lips. "Okay, bring it in. Let us get this party started." Then she knew, in this moment of celebration, her heart was whole again. Each hug, each story, each bite infused with love. This was just the beginning of an exciting, flavorful adventure ahead. You need to subscribe now to join us for even more empowering transformations. This is the moment to show your support and take part in these incredible stories. Leave a like now so the algorithm knows that you love this content. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this heartfelt ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this beautiful journey of healing and connection.